Hi, I'm Jess from Ela Hawke Vintage and welcome to my office.
Hi Jess, thanks for having us here.
No worries.
So how did Ela Hawke come about? Why vintage? What drew you to vintage?
I've always been interested in vintage clothing. I used to spend hours and hours of my time years ago on eBay trawling through all the international sellers and finding beautiful clothing, and I loved the thrill of the chase and the idea of finding one-off pieces, and I never thought it could be a full-time job, or I never even, that idea never crossed my mind. And it wasn't until a trip to PNG where I found kind of a goldmine of vintage clothing up there, and was able to start a bit of a collection and sell it online. And it was a side project in the beginning until I realised it was taking off, and it was a way that I could be my own boss. I could fuse my design skills with my love of fashion and vintage clothing. So yeah, it was a really great way to do that. I think main styling tips would be, when you're looking for the vintage clothing, keep in mind your style, keep in mind what you like, so colours, prints, shapes. Don't go for the most craziest piece, just finding what you're comfortable in. So if you've never bought vintage before, probably best to start with something simple like a t-shirt or a jacket, or just like a floral dress. But yeah, keeping in mind your body shape and your style and what you like in new clothing, and try to relate that to vintage clothing and what you like wearing. I guess the way I style vintage is how I would wear it. There is a fine line also with new clothing, I find, is based on old trends, dresses from the 70s, jackets from the 80s, or floral prints from the 90s. So there's kind of that blend where, new clothing is starting to look like vintage clothing. So for me, I don't try to style it new, but it's just the way that I like to style vintage clothing.
What's the most exciting pinch yourself moment in the Ela Hawke Vintage journey so far?
That was earlier in the year when I quit my part-time job and I started doing this full-time. So basically it was like all my dreams had come together, and all my hard work and determination had finally come together, and I was able to be my own boss and do what I love and do this full-time.
So now that you've taken the business full-time, what's the next step for you?
The next step would be, basically I'd love to get an online store happening. Currently I'm selling through Facebook, so to be able to showcase everything I do and everything I sell online in an actual online store would be a really great progression for me. Maybe another LA trip by the end of the year. And lots of little collaborations throughout the year, and also potentially a clothing label down the track maybe.
Interesting,
yeah.
More exclusive for us.
Yes, hot tip.
Thank you so much for having us today. Make sure that you go and check Ela Hawke Vintage out on Facebook.